The objectives for this lesson. Candidates will be able to recognize the stages of psychosocial development. Candidates will be able to recognize, understand, and apply the work of Erik Erikson. Erik Erikson created the stages of psychosocial development. Most of his work was done between 1950 and 1980. His first book was called Childhood and Society, and he won the Pulitzer Prize for his second book, Gandhi's Truth. He suffered from his own identity crisis. Erik Erikson grew up Erich Homburger because his mother remarried and he never knew his real father. When it was revealed that Erich Homburger wasn't his real name, he felt unsure of who he was and he roamed Europe for a while. He changed his own name to Erik Erikson. Some debate that he chose Erikson because he wanted to be known as Eric's son, or that he wanted his own sons to be known as Eric's son. Erik Erikson was born on June 15 in 1902 in Frankfurt, Germany. He died May 12, 1994 in the United States. His work was based on his own experiences because he was teased as a child for being a tall, blonde, Nordic person. He later received his certificate from Vienna Psychoanalytic Society. He moved to the United States in 1933 and began teaching at Harvard Medical School. He was friends with Sigmund Freud, although he never renounced Freud's work. He claimed to have built his work upon the work of Freud. From Erikson's work, the terms searching for identity, identity crisis, and midlife crisis arose. The first stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development occurs between birth and 1 year of age, and it's the most fundamental stage in life. Because an infant is utterly dependent, the development of trust is based on the dependability and quality of the child's caregivers. If the child successfully develops trust, he or she will feel safe and secure in the world. Caregivers who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or rejecting contribute to feelings of mistrust in the children they care for. Failure to develop trust will result in fear and a belief that the world is inconsistent and unpredictable. Of course, no child is going to develop a sense of 100% trust and 100% doubt. Erikson believed that successful development was all about striking a balance between the two opposing sides. When this happened, children acquire hope, which Erikson described as an openness to experience tempered by some wariness that danger may be present. The culmination in old age is that appreciation of interdependence and relatedness comes about. The early childhood years are the years from 1 to 3 years old. The second stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development takes place during the early childhood and is focused on children developing a greater sense of personal control. Like Freud, Erikson believed that toilet training was a vital part of this process. However, Erikson's reasoning was quite different than that of Freud's. Erikson believed that learning to control one's bodily functions leads to a feeling of control and a sense of independence. Other important events include gaining more control of food choices, toy preferences, and clothing selection. Children who successfully complete this stage feel secure and confident, while those who do not are left with a sense of inadequacy and self-doubt. Erikson believed that achieving a balance between autonomy and shame and doubt would lead to will, which is the belief that children can act with intention, within reason and limits. The culmination of old age is the acceptance of the cycle of life, from integration to disintegration. Psychosocial stage number 3 is called the play age. This is years 3 to 6 years old. During the preschool years, children begin to assert their power and control over the world through directing play and other social interactions. Children who are successful at this stage feel capable and able to lead others. Those who fail to acquire these skills are left with a sense of guilt, self-doubt, and lack of initiative. When an ideal balance of individual initiative and willingness to work with others is achieved, the ego quality known as purpose emerges. Throughout old age, they learn to develop humor, empathy, and resilience. The next stage is called the school age. This is ages 6 to 12 years old. where he felt that industry versus inferiority was the conflict. This stage covers the early school years from approximately 6 to 12. Through social interactions, children begin to develop a sense of pride in their accomplishments and abilities. Children who are encouraged and commended by parents and teachers develop a feeling of competence and belief in their skills. Those who receive little or no encouragement from parents, teachers, or peers will doubt their abilities to be successful. Successfully finding a balance at this stage of psychosocial development leads to strength known as competence, or a belief of our own abilities to handle the tasks set before us. In old age, we develop humility, acceptance of the course of one's life, and unfulfilled hopes. The next stage of life is called adolescence. The conflict during this stage is identity versus confusion. During adolescence, children explore their independence and develop a sense of self. Those who receive proper encouragement and reinforcement through personal exploration will emerge from this stage with a strong sense of self and a feeling of independence and control. Those who remain unsure of their beliefs and desires will feel insecure and confused about themselves and the future. Completing this stage successfully leads to fidelity, which Erikson described as an ability to live by society's standards and expectations. In old age, they develop a sense of complexity of life, merging of sensory, logical, and aesthetic perception. The next stage is early adulthood, between the ages of 20 and 25 years old. The conflict during this stage is intimacy versus isolation. This stage covers the period of early adulthood when people are exploring personal relationships. Erikson believed it was vital that people develop close, committed relationships with other people. Those who are successful at this step will form relationships that are committed and secure. Remember that each step builds on skills learned in previous steps. Erikson believed that a strong sense of personal identity was important for developing intimate relationships. Studies have demonstrated that those with poor sense of self tend to have less committed relationships and are more likely to suffer emotional isolation, loneliness, and depression. Successful resolution at this stage results in the virtue known as love. It is marked by the ability to form lasting, meaningful relationships with other people. In old age, they develop a sense of complexity of relationships and value tenderness and loving freely. The next stage is called adulthood, and it ranges from years 26 years of age to 64 years. During this stage, the conflict is generativity and versus stagnation. During adulthood, we continue to build our lives, focusing on career and family. Those who are successful during this phase will feel that they are contributing to the world by being active in their home and community. Those who fail to attain this skill will feel unproductive and unloved in the world. Care is the virtue achieved when this stage is handled successfully. Being proud of our accomplishments, watching our children grow into adults, and developing a sense of unity with your life partner are important accomplishments of this stage. From this comes care. Caring for others, empathy, and concern. The last stage is called old age, and the conflict is integrity versus despair. This phase occurs during old age and is focused on reflecting back on life. Those who are unsuccessful during this stage will feel that their life has been wasted and will experience many regrets. The individual will be left with feelings of bitterness and despair. Those who feel proud of their accomplishments will feel a sense of integrity. Successfully completing this phase means looking back with few regrets and a general feeling of satisfaction. These individuals will attain wisdom, even when confronting death. In old age, we develop existential identity, a sense of integrity strong enough to withstand physical disintegration. Now I would like to do a self-reflection activity. Take a look at the stages of Erikson's psychosocial development and think back on your own life. Look at some event or what went right or wrong in that stage of life to get you to where you are today. Write down the stage where you felt propelled you to this point in life, and then reflect on some of the events that happened during that stage. This is the end of the activity on Erik Erikson.